Oh. No, that's what I was just thinking.
Oh, that one, no, that's not that.
With the backup plan.
That's the drag nowadays. There's something about the all visual combined with Eddie Van Halen's guitar solo there that has always got my attention. Always brought that dynamics together. That all always felt that. Hello everyone. Welcome to the second half of our severe weather seminar here in wonderful Bartlesville, Oklahoma. My name is Justin Post. I live down in the Westport area, next to Keystone Lake. Please bear with me as I read from the notes today, elaborate from them as well. I don't want to forget some of the topics here instead of just putting off on a whim here. I want to thank Fox 23, Storm Tracker John Maples, and the Washington County Storm Team for inviting me here, first of all. And thank you for coming as well. Thanks Michael Seeger and his presentation earlier. It was fantastic. Next after myself here is also an Emergency Management Director, Kerry Cox, as well. He'll be soon. That first video and sound presentation was not mine, and soundtrack by none other than Eddie Van Halen himself from back in the day. I've always loved that one. But now, the imagery you see behind me here, this is from my own website, wickedstorms.com. If you ever want to take a moment, check that out sometime. You all are welcome to view that, whatever you'd like. I have a couple of calendars here and things like this, showpieces after this is over if you want to come and see some of the things that I've done here, presentations a little bit here. Again, my name is Justin Post. I want to present another aspect of storm chasing and some of my adventures with you. I'm not specifically a tornado chaser, although the tornado sequences are pretty much the ultimate for both observation and public awareness goals. I am a severe weather photojournalist. I like to track just about any form of severe weather that is available out there. Basically, all forms of severe weather is what I pursue in observation, public awareness, my own photography and business, documentation and education, as well as information for the later generations beyond ours. Many factors of severe weather are what affect our lives and properties, not just the tornadoes themselves. And I've tracked storms now from Colorado to Alabama, South Dakota to literally the Mexican border down in Del Rio. Are there any storm trackers, chasers here today? You guys, I know there are a couple of guys here. There we go, okay, definitely. For those that aren't, are there anyone that's interested in being a storm chaser? We got a little guy up here in front. I'm not sure where he is, but I know he's a future storm chaser, it seems like. If you are, I would consider contacting your local or regional NWS office for a listing of the Skywarn seminars for your certifications. Once certified and you've purchased your equipment basics, I also suggest not going solo, but instead find a person with years experience in storm interception. Then apply those notes into your adventures. The first goal of almost any storm chaser should be to provide information for what's actually happening for the public. And that's all ground truth. NWS and some of your local authorities depend on that. How many of you have actually seen tornadoes in person in your life? Literally seen them physically, rather than, right, we all, generally almost everybody here. My question, do you find them scary or beautiful?
Beautiful.
It's something you think about, right? And it all depends on some of your own life experiences, more than likely. Whether one got a little too close, obviously those become pretty scary. But then such chasers as myself, maybe Mr. Seeger, when you get out on these beautiful planes, they're beautiful. I mean, it's one word, like you could probably come up with many, many other words. Beautiful. I love the tornado aspects out there. They can be pretty terrifying, yet beautiful at the same time. Like I said, I've seen about 40 tornadoes now in the past 5 years, ranging from a couple seconds to half-mile wedges for many minutes. Even though some of them, as you described with QSLC events right there, the quick little spin-ups versus one, we had that one in 90 minutes in Kansas that about 2 years ago. That just tracked forever on the ground, and fortunately I don't think there was any, very little damages and no lives lost, but still you got a 90 minutes worth of an EF2 or EF3, big strong tornado for an hour and a half on the ground, and still we have no harm in most of them. These are the types we all like to chase off, so you document it. So there you go. I've seen 40 or probably about 40 now overall, just the last 5 years. but I've yet to witness any of these EF4s or 5s. And the only thing I've always seen them on videos outside. I haven't seen these in person. I haven't seen the damages over in person. And personally, and with the years I've chased so far here, I've learned to basically dance around these storms. In EF 1, 2, or 3, I think I don't have a problem getting in kind of tight, getting in close, getting really close documentation number. But man, once you get into that, especially strong 3s or in the 4 or 5 violent tornadoes, it's time to step back and see what's going on from a little bit farther away. You know what I'm saying? I'm a photographer, so I do a lot of photography versus literally from the documenting to get to the NWS as fast. And all chasers are obviously different in their scope and what they want to do overall. So there's a lot of times that I'm pretty much laying back. But the EF4 and EF5, I just, you know, to be very honest with you, I'd stay back. And I kind of thought I might be talking to a younger generation of chasers potentially. So that's the way I designed some of this this talk today. So about me, where I'm from upstate New York. I grew up in the 80s, I graduated in 87, and I was chasing weather. We didn't have tornadoes. I mean, once a year, maybe. So, really the dynamics are obviously a lot different between the northeast versus the southern plains. They're drastically different. There are some similarities. I've studied some, there are some. But I never really got to chase or even observe massive tornadoes. So, you know, in the mid-80s, I was in my teens. Y'all remember the days of pagers? Some of us do, right? It's been that long since I started. I like to help people stay ahead of the storm, basically. It's one thing to view observe, document it, photograph it, put it on social medias, Facebook, stuff like that. But to help people stay ahead of the storm is very close tied to my #1 passion overall. And upstate New York, as far back as the days of pagers, and you remember the voice machines that we used to plug into the wall? You know, I would do it that day. My family and friends, I would leave a message on my voicemail. I was plugged into the wall back in those days, right? And I'd leave a little message on there, and they knew that if they got a page from me, they should call my number and listen to the voicemail from that page alert. Well, that's about as long as I've been trying to help people stay ahead of the storm. So back then it was a little less relevant with tornadoes, but we would have squall lines that come over the mountains, a lot of pretty intense squall lines. I've seen 100 inches of snow for 3 days. I've seen 44 inches of snow overnight. So the scope of weather was a lot different, but then again, it also has extremes too that we had to deal with. So I never forget the pager days. I just wanted to bring that up on it. So as I went through the 90s, and then especially into the 2000s, I joined online onto the internet around 2008. And it wasn't long before that I started to want to provide information for a much bigger amount of people overall. And I never forget, maybe somebody can help me too, I think it was around 2010. I'm in upstate New York on my computer, and Western Oklahoma, I was very avid about the data and radar and things that were happening out west. I was always super curious, I always wanted to be a part of it. So here I am, 1,200 miles away, and I don't know if you'll remember, it was probably around 2010, Woodward, Oklahoma. Do you remember anything about grapefruit hail and a tornado at night? I don't remember the year, I know it was pretty much around there, right? So I had a woman in her bathtub, on her laptop with her 2 kids, messaging me in New York State about what was happening. She had been following me avidly just on my descriptions of what was happening out in the West overall. And one thing that changed a lot of the way I looked at the dynamics of what was happening out here is when the last thing I got ready from her was, oh my God, it sounds like a train. And that was the last words I got from her. And fortunately, I did get to hear from her the next day. But, I get the goosebumps right now. There's a couple stories I can tell you. Y'all have lived out here, but I've kind of been outside the picture coming here. In 2013, I finally joined the Southern Plains overall. But that story right there was one I never forget because it really motivated me even farther to want to help the people that are out here. Help them know what's going on, basically. So what I did at that point, I didn't have a college education at the time. I didn't have anything to kind of show and tell. So I went back to college at about 42 years old. And I wanted to pursue, as I was talking with Michael, I wanted to pursue the meteorology. It was a very intense, very expensive program. And I made it about halfway, and I settled for the herb science instead, and my associate's degree in herb science, and then a secondary, which is liberal arts, basically an expansion of topics and presentations and stuff like that. And that would be in 2010, I went to college. 2013, you all know that magic year. You discussed it very well here. 2013, I was graduating in May. You've already introduced the whole topic right here. It was just, I missed that whole segment by 3 weeks. And my whole aim was to be out here, be part of anything like that, you know, even though that probably wouldn't have been the best thing for me to be my first experience out here, you know what I'm saying, would be, no. So that's what kind of motivated me. In 2013, I came out here, and I went to Kansas first, and I spent about a year and a half in central Kansas. Now, I had grown up with waterfalls and mountains behind me. Beautiful, beautiful landscape. And out here, I went to Kansas first. It was like, I tell everybody, it was like living on a pool tabletop. Oh my God, there's that storm's coming. It's 150 miles away. I didn't realize it was 125 miles away, but I grew up with lightning. I'm a lightning addict. I love the lightning aspects of storms. I'll chase storms until sunrise the next day. And I could see these tops, whereas upstate New York, you couldn't see around the bend. But yeah, you can see the tops of these storms, 100. I think, okay, I'm gonna go get that one, right? This is my 2014 year, my first year here, basically, 2013, 14. I'm gonna go I told the one lady that I knew out here, I'm gonna be out there go get that one. I don't remember which road it is, central Kansas going west, 70 miles an hour for over an hour, and I was still halfway there. That's how I learned the vastness of Kansas, you know what I'm saying? And literally the beautiful, I mean, observationally, it's just beautiful. It was so flat beautiful. So anyways, in 2013-14, I spent in central Kansas learning the region, the cities, the towns, the road networks, and watching the amazing skies. 2014 to 15, I bought a cheap little pocket camera and began capturing the simple storms, which is a little camera. And I didn't even have photography. If you look behind me, you'll see most of what I've been doing with a Nikon in the last year, literally just a year and a half. So I spent the first 2 or 3 years with this little pocket camera, just click. I clicked that thing probably 21,000 times, you know what I mean? And learned the basic fundamentals of photography. 2015. Oh, and then I joined a little chase team over in Oklahoma City. Kind of learn the ropes, learn a little bit more about what these groups are doing and stuff. In 16 and 17, I started developing the recognition of the storm patterns, cyclogenesis, tornadogenesis, synoptic scale systems, rather than the systems that were just coming through the northeast and squeezing the Atlantic with the Canadian Arctic fronts, just pushing it through. You all out here have a similar pattern if you think about it. In a very general way, it's very similar. You have the Gulf of Mexico, and you have the Rocky Mountains. So it's kind of similar, but the dynamics are obviously a lot more drastic, you know? So there you go, in 16 and 17, I was learning the fundamentals of photography. And then in 2017, Elk City, right? I think it was the Elk City event. That was one of those days where your hair wasn't moving. It got a chance to get that one storm together, but a lot of the day, you just didn't have the dynamics, you didn't have the inflow, you didn't have the strong wind, you didn't have the cheer factors, a lot of that. But Elk City got its act together eventually. That day, I was on 40, Interstate 40, just out on the east. I come from the north. I was doing I was originally on some of the storms out there by McLean. And then I came and I saw that one developing down south, and I was like, should I drive down there? I was with my girlfriend, who's now my wife, at the time was my girlfriend. Should we do it? There was another one in between. I said, let's just stick with this one. And sure enough, that one down by Oak City started to develop even stronger. But I was on the east side of that, and when that came up 40, Interstate 40, I got a couple pictures. I don't think it was, that's Waynoka. There's Tesla, Kansas. That massive miso was right there, and it just wasn't getting it. It was after the tornado, and it just wasn't spinning anywhere near as much. I jumped out, took a couple pictures with me and my wife. I put the camera down on the trunk of my car, and at exactly that time, a tractor trailer drove by and knocked my hat off my head. Well, I ran out to grab the hat, pick up my hat, jump back in the car because now the gust front was there. And I was like, let's go. My wife, I jumped out and drove away. my camera with a 256 gigabyte last 3 years microchip or SD card was in that camera, and I drove away. So I look northwest at the storm as it's developing. I'm just on the north side now, it's redeveloping, regenerating, whatever. I got to the next exit, and I reached over for my camera that wasn't there. And I was like, I just couldn't believe it because I knew instantly what had happened. And I turned around, went back down the interstate, turned back down the interstate, got to the spot where I knew it was, and there was no camera there. And sure enough, me and my wife ended up finding my camera. It was run over by a tractor trailer. And I lost that 3 years of data, all kinds of lessons I learned real quick here. 3 years of data, and my camera, and even the SD card was shattered, shredded. Fortunately, I had a lot of stuff, some of it behind me, baby. But in my computer, I had some of it saved. So, but that day is what pushed me into my DSLR adventures. You know, she kept coaxing me and pushing me to do the DSLR, the Nikon, but I wasn't quite ready for it. But that day, I had no choice, basically. It was time. So that's what led me to do a lot of the photography, the things that you see behind me here. In 2017-18, I started my Wicked Storms LLC business. WickedStorms.com, you guys can check that out anytime you want. I have a couple calendars and stuff up here. And I went out about 100 times. 42 times last year and 48 times last year, or the year before. Now, living in Oklahoma, you all know what happened last year, basically, with our annual tornado count. Now, these happen to be the years I chose to take my entire life change and go pursue tornadoes. And what's happened since those days? Obviously, I've been a good omen for y'all. You know, because the tornado count has gone down steadily, you know what I'm saying? Last year, Oklahoma didn't even have an EF3. It had numerous small tornadoes. It had a whole bunch of little twisters that came through, but didn't have anything. As a matter of fact, I think I'm skipping ahead of myself here. Yeah, let me just back up. 2019, I was very honored to accept the position at the Tulsa News 8 as a storm tracker, both local and regional. They already have a more presumable local storm tracker, but me being so regional, interstate, we're going to try to tie some of the other things that are happening out there into how they're going to happen locally. So that kind of worked out hand in hand. I'm very honored, very happy to be part of that. This year, coincidentally too, I wanted to develop my videography skills. I had always just been capturing the camera, and I hadn't done much video aspects. This year was the year, and the news called me, and then in 2020, I figured by 2020, I would be strong enough to present the video, the things that are happening out here, video-wise too. I also do a little work with a group called Live Storm Chasers. They have 150,000 on their Facebook page. They do a lot of literally national scale weather. Very, very good little group guys out there. The summer of 2019 concludes with my 5th year in the Southern Plains. Back in I think I talked about this a little bit. Back in 2010, when I started this sequence in my life, my goal was to be established or have a solid foundation by 2020. I have about 25 more years now to leave this education and legacy for others after me as I live this, literally. Next topic here. The past couple years have been, there we go. I've seen a decline, or we've seen a decline in intense tornadoes locally and overall as well. 2018 was almost, if matter of fact, if you look at the stats, which you don't blame it on the last one because it's all cumulative. If it wasn't for, remember that little outbreak in Illinois? That little outbreak in Illinois? November-ish, maybe? Yeah. And if it wasn't for that one, we may have been last year the lowest tornado count in history. That's how minimal. So the one thing I wanted to preach or specifically talk about or reference is I'm hoping this year Oklahomans don't become complacent. Because that's one thing that happens when you, it didn't happen, or it's not gonna, that's what they say until it happens. Well, this year, I was talking with Mike about some of the long range, and I'm still not all that good with long range. I don't think it can really be much less. So I'm just kind of hoping, I'm going around telling everybody, don't become complacent, because you still live in Oklahoma, and it's going to happen. So this year is going to be very unique. We're kind of hoping that, well, as a chaser, maybe not as a civilian, but as a chaser, some of that southern branch moisture, we already have a fairly decent foundation. We have excessive rain this year in January. So kind of hoping that just that juice alone will continue as a storm chaser or tracker, or as an observationist, I'm talking here, not really as a citizen. That's what kind of hoping for. I think it'll probably be a little bit more. I don't think it's going to be drastic, but I think it's probably going to be a little more than last year. So, next here I choose these here to begin my sequence. I'm trying to address the document. I'm going to kind of went slower. I said that already. Next, I want to address some of the more sobering and intensely humbling aspects of storm chasing and tracking. That would be ground zero. Being the first person who's there immediately after or during the destruction of an intense or violent tornado event. As a storm tracker, as a storm chaser, especially youth, and I'm not picking on anybody, but especially youth, it's all about social media glory, it's all about fame, it's all about, you know, it's cool. By the way, there's a whole other side when you're that one, and you're even there before emergency squad, law enforcement, medics, anything, you are there. So with that being said, following video is a personal experience from today's date was. In my life, February 2nd, 2016, was another one of those very humbling events, and it was intense. We had followed an EF2 which approached 3, kind of bounced back and forth on a 2-3 level a little bit right there. It crossed Mississippi, went into Alabama, into a town called McMullen. And he's going to play the video behind me of what happened in those very humbling moments in my life. It is that moment when you're in search and rescue mode, when you're calling out into the darkness of demolished buildings to see if anybody is there, but you don't know if the silence that returns is a good thing, meaning no one's there, or a bad thing because of someone's ill fate, and they can't return an answer. I'll play that video here. I'll step aside and watch this. It was very humbling. It's actually a 20-minute video, and I got it started about halfway through here. It's literally in the, whatever we most call carnage, the wreckage, you know. It really put a hurt on this area. It didn't flatten buildings, but it really put, you know, it was EF2 strong. And it was almost a half-mile wide. It wasn't quite a wedge, it was somewhere in between the stove, pipe, and wedge, somewhere in between right there when I hit this town. And this was the first time in my life where I was literally firsthand. I had seen a couple of them after the crews were there. If you remember up in Nebraska, the Wayne tornado, that was a pretty intense one. It hit up there. I had seen a couple of them after the crews were there and already had taken care of a lot of the business. This was when people were coming out of their houses. I mean, the tornado was still going off in the distance. And we were not pursuing it more because we knew it was time to help people. And I don't know if you can hear this. Is there audio?
Yeah.
Is there audio? You'll see as I go through this right here, this was one of the most humbling points of my entire life so far. And obviously it's not, in my life, I'm realizing that, see, the light is still flashing, it's still, I mean, it's minutes, you know what I mean? It makes me realize it's not really a matter of if you're a very avid storm chaser, no less. If this is going to happen, it's literally a matter of when. If you're strong, you're intensive storm chaser, you're that critical, you're going to be in this event probably at least one time in your life.
Search and rescue were right there. Amazing. February 2.
At this point, one of the guys had come out of that other building, and I never forget the way he said she was standing right here, and she's just gone. He went like that, she's just gone. And he was so in a daze of dealing with that, I was just. So we went off into the brush, and we started calling into the brush, and not know if there's going to be a body there, or if she had made it to the storm shelter. There was one storm shelter in the whole little community, and there was like 26 people that made it into that storm shelter. So that was kind of good in its own way.
Everybody in here?
But at this time, we didn't know.
Hello? Anybody in here? No.
That's the part right there that really I never forget. I get the goosebumps every time. Because you just don't know if what the answer is good or bad, you know?
Wow.
I just hope for the best, basically.
Everything just absolutely smashed on the blue area. Hey,
I mean,
everybody in here?
because I don't have the credentials, I wasn't going into these buildings, you know what I mean? But if I could get a response of any kind, if I heard that, I was either going to go help if I could, because I couldn't help myself besides being human at that point, or yell out to the people that were starting to come through. I saw some of the yellow lights coming in, and medics, but not medics, but emergency crews and stuff like that were starting to come in. I could at least yell and say, yo, here, you know what I mean? There was gas leaks, you know, they smelled the gas and everything. There's just so much goes on with this when you're in these little moments here. But this was the one that woke me up into, what am I going to be dealing with when an EF4 or 5 hits? And I'm one of these very intense storm travelers out there. And that could be anywhere. That could be Kansas, Colorado, Texas, that could be anywhere. So I got to get myself some training, a little bit.
Everybody's good back there. Wait, just want to double check.
At the time, there was still 2 more supercells on the horizon west of us. Actually, southwest of us. So I was just telling these people, even though that one hit was terrible enough, understand that there's still 2 more that are just barely west of us, and they're possible to come through here. They didn't, unfortunately. They stayed to the west side. But I had to let them know that it still wasn't even safe, and they were already dealing with disasters, you know?
I think it's going to go to your west side. If you're on there, still stagnant one. That's not good.
There you go, this one right there.
Yeah, so far it seems like I kind of looked right out here real quick, so I didn't really get the full swoop out there, but I'm going to go back there now. Everything seems to be okay.
It didn't flatten the building, but there wasn't much left of many of the structures, and it was amazing to me. This young girl, she was kind of funny. I don't know if she was in a daze or if she was just a unique little character with me. At one point she says, were we really in a tornado? And I was like, this whole area was at ground zero, yes, and it's glad to see that you were still here, basically. I think she was kind of a daze. No, we do.
Oh, wait a minute. I'm glad to see you're still here, is what I'm saying. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. I'm just looking out there or something because you're still here, you know? These kind of tornadoes.
Now you gotta realize too, there's down power lines, electric lines all over the place. You don't know if they're live or dead, you know? The gas is leaking. People are hurt. There's just so much that goes on. That's what I really, as part of my speech today, wasn't, I want to address, especially the youth that are here, the less than thing aspects and what you're really going to be dealing with out there sooner or later, you know?
You just can't keep up ahead of people in the burbs and around the country.
You mean tell me it happened right in the country? Like in there?
This whole row right
It
here.
was a predominantly African-American community there. The whole area, that whole neighborhood just took almost a half-mile wide, a little bit more than a quarter mile.
Matter of fact, keep an eye out to your west over here too, by the way. You see that light flickering right over there right now?
Yeah, that light still right there. The boundary was still right there. The first one was the road supercell out ahead of the boundary, which hit down.
So that's going to keep you good, but they're that close.
It was still like 78, 80 degrees. February. It's crazy.
So you got to pay attention to all your friends here. Pay attention for the next hour or two.
Brett, I know some of you know Brett Adair, possibly. He was, that was the first time I got to meet him physically. I was in Alabama at that point, you know. I chased another one in Tuscaloosa at night. Tornado at night, that's a whole other ballgame too. You don't get too close to those. Back to where I think I talked to the man more, I don't remember. Oh no, that's right, a little bit farther here. Oh, I pan over to where a trailer used to be. It looked like a pile of dirty clothes. It was just, it was gone. Lake 10 killed recently. That one was interesting. I come across the marina and took out the marina there, Chicken Creek or something, marina, I can't remember. And again, I was there before the crews were there, so it's time for me to get certified and see what the wires and everything right there all around. Another thing I want to tell people constantly, if you get in these situations, number one, you don't trust those wires at all. You got to be very, very careful about those wires if you're going to be walking around at all. These people are, they're in days still, and they don't know. I was almost expecting somebody to step on a wire next, you just don't know. This one was pretty brutal. It wasn't EF4 or EF5, but it was a heck of a wake-up call for me. Just want to get to where I pan over and where that trailer was. I think it's coming right up here. See, now the crews are starting to come in. You can see the lights. They're starting to filter in. Only 15 minutes. There it is. There's a trailer there. And yet the other house, as a matter of fact, the next house way there, that's the whole house up on the road. That had been lifted and moved up onto the road. Yeah. So this was my wake-up call to the next level, basically. Because EF4s and EF5s are on my horizon bench. Obviously, you all dealt with Joplin, you dealt with Moore, you dealt with El Reno, these things. I'm soon going to be there too. So I wanted to talk to anybody, whatever, about understanding it's not all about the glory aspects of chase. I have a feeling sooner or later there's going to be a time in my life where I'm going to have somebody's life in my hands. All right, brother, we go back to lightning.
That's probably F2, by the way. Anybody wants to know, you live at F2.
Yeah. McMullen. Today's date. So the next step here, actually this is about halfway through, it'll probably click through here. One of my fascinations growing up in upstate New York was the lightning aspect. So I would chase these storms even out here long after tornado chasers were home and the day's over and the supercells are still growing. They're diminishing, but they're becoming hail cores. And the lightning is associated with them also, not chasing until the next dawn basically. But there's many, many times where I would also be reporting about the hail cores. Now most people think the dangers are over because the tornadoes are over. But hello, those hail cores can be very, very wicked. As a matter of fact, the outflows, backflows of some of these, 60, 70, 80, 100, maybe even miles an hour on some of them, 80 miles an hour. That's going to cause some damage. So that's another thing that I love to do myself. I love to report, even late off into the night, severe weather. So I just wanted to emphasize overall, tornadoes isn't the only thing that we chase that we need to be concerned about. It's all aspects of severe weather. We need to protect people's lives, people's property, and your livestock and your pets always. That's another thing we take for granted. Don't think about the horses and the cows out there that are going to make it, you know. So some of the crazy lightning aspects, this is at the tail end. As a matter of fact, that's a pocket camera picture right there. Some of these pictures are also pocket cameras, but it'll click back up to the beginning of some of my DSLRs. There's a couple of them in there I wanted to show here from Tulsa. You'll see the Tulsa horizon in there. Really wicked. As a matter of fact, a couple months ago, already 6 months now, I've got lightning starting to come right through the town, right through the city of Tulsa. Really wicked light. It came through Skiatook and everything. I was right there with the camera. That was one of the most beautiful moments of my lightning aspects. Yeah, here we go. Let's go back over. Now look at this one. That's Copan Dam right there. Here we are in Bartlesville, so I figured I'd show you this. That's 50 yards to the ground, right there. That is one of the scariest lightning bolts I've ever produced in my life on camera. I was on a cow pastures on both sides of the fence, and that lightning hit next to the fence. So I don't know if that's 30 feet or 40 feet. I was picturing lightning that was off a mile or two off in the distance. Beautiful, dancing on the plains, right? I'm safe, it's all good. Bam! Right next to me, and somehow I saw, that one is just north of here, up past Copan, you go up there a little bit farther, here, Skiatook. But this is my fancy, especially when it compares I-75 South, the bridge I-75 South right there, south side of Tulsa. That's a 1.8 second pocket camera shot. It's crazy. The whole side of the farm, there's Bartlesville, just on the east side of Bartlesville, one of the roads that go east out there. But anyways, that's my thing right there, and now I'm starting to pursue the tornadoes, reporting on some of the much more intense weather that's here. So as you see here, or may very well know from experience, storm chasing is not all social media glory, and the euphorias that are associated with it nowadays, thanks to Facebook. It can be very dangerous and have detrimental effects, even life-changing moments. Although I've yet to see destructions be a 4 or 5, I have ultimate respect for dealing with them. I have been the first of people on scenes like this a few times now, and it's always a surreal moment, and it tests your nerves. You never know just what you're going to see or deal with. And recently, I was also behind the late 10-killer tornado a couple months ago, the same kind of similar damage as that, at night, in the dark. I got a couple pictures of before the crews were there with a DSLR with the damage on the lake and the sky with the stars. And it's so unique seeing peaceful and beauty with ultimate destruction from just minutes before, you know, at the same time. I personally still need to register with some kind with an emergency responder status so I can be more prepared for these events as they occur in the future. I know it's only a matter of time before one of these incidents puts me right there face to face with someone's life's final moments likely. I'm not sure how I'm going to deal with that yet. No, I just kind of prepare myself ahead of time, and hopefully as we can convey this to other people to kind of keep that in mind when it happens. With that being said, I'd like to conclude here with this outline showing numerous aspects of storm tracking or being a storm chaser, whatever type. There are many types of chasers out there, and hopefully you will be the informational type to inform others basically what's happening. The NWS and regional authorities need our observational data, but it is important to know that it is not always what it cracks up to be. Very few people make money at all, and if so, it's only very little. One has to be very hardy and relentless in order to pursue synoptic scale systems relentlessly. Many, many hours on the road, all the transportation costs and problems that occur, events that don't fully evolve, equipment malfunctions, data reception issues, on and on and on and on it goes, and it's all out of pocket. For many years now, I've made the choice to sacrifice the way I do, and I pursue the passions of my lifetime now. So that not only I can witness and document these amazing moments, but also I can be the up-close and personal observer that can report the dangers to the public to help people stay safe, basically, overall. The track and intensity of these events are critical for planning personal and property safety, damage maintenance. And I thank all that are involved in this coordination for helping people to stay ahead of the storm. Thank you very much. Anytime. I left these up here. These are my calendars and a book. Anybody wants to observe those, this is some of the things I do, especially my photography aspect, so it's good.